Do you fear that one day you might look into the sky and you just might not see the stars at all? Why should people care about that? Why does that matter to us?
We have been connected to the night sky for hundreds of thousands of lifetimes. And now in the course of one lifetime, we've lost that connection. So we are adrift. We are no longer a part of that because we can't see that. There's this cognitive dissonance. We know the stars are there, but we can't see the stars. And when you look at the stars, when you're in an area to be able to see a pristine night and you're looking back into eternity, essentially, because the light that you're seeing started that trip 1,000,000 years ago, light years, whatever it is. It's an incalculable distance and an incalculable time. So when people were able to look up and see where they came from and where they'll go to, there's not a fear of death. And I think that's one of the reasons why Western cultures so fear death. It's because they're no longer having that connection of a sense of continuity. Right? I'm part of all of that. And it's funny, I've heard people say this idea that, when you look at the stars, doesn't it make you feel insignificant and small? For me, it makes me feel infinitely bigger. So I think that's another part of what is a healthy human being, is to be able to have their sense of self fill a space that they're in that extends their sense. And I said, I've been to Notre Dame, I've been to the Vatican, and I've seen the Sistine Chapel, and I prefer a night sky to connect with the divine. Why? The higher ceiling.
Welcome to Curiousaholic, the show where we question the past and imagine the future. In today's episode, we discuss the issue of light pollution. Light pollution is a topic that is not oftentimes discussed in mainstream media or, that a lot of people know about, so we wanted to make an episode on this. And to better understand the issue, we invited an expert in the field. His name is Michael Marlin. Michael is an ambassador for the International Astronomical Union, and also he is an ambassador for the International Dark Sky Association. He is a public speaker in the field, and he has also recorded a TEDx talk that also discusses these issues about light pollution called Embracing Darkness. You can find this TEDx talk online as well. He's received an award also for some of the work that he's done in the field, notably awarded by President Obama, and the award is called the Presidential Service Award.
So yeah, if you like this episode, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more. All that engagement lets YouTube know that you want to see more of these videos and helps us grow our channel and make better episodes every time. And you can also follow us on any of your favorite streaming platforms as well. So without further ado, here is Michael F. Marlin. Marlin, when one reads the beginning of the Bible, they see that God's first words were, "Let there be light." But for there to be light, there must also be darkness. So our question is, what is the importance of darkness in our lives?
Well, life is born in darkness. Okay?
How so?
Well, you have to put a seed in the ground. It has to be dark for it to germinate. An embryo grows in the darkness of the womb. And what's curious is that even though life is born in darkness, and when people have near-death experiences, they talk about going to the light. Yeah, we fear the former but crave the latter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, to such an extent that we basically set the night on fire, and there's very little darkness left for people to find unless they escape the dome of light that most people live under around the world. Most folks live in metropolitan areas and they never see the dark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we spoke about that yesterday, about how some people, when they have near-death experiences, they see, light after death. Do you have like a theory on why that is?
Good question. Do I have a theory why they feel as though they're going towards the light? No, I don't have a theory on why that is. Well, supposedly they're going to the all that is, and maybe the all that is a very bright place.
Yeah, exactly. I think the way we kind of thought about it yesterday is that, they're kind of seeing the universe itself, right? Like like all that there is, or all that is. Like we don't know what they're seeing, but yeah, it's cool to.
They may be headed for the interior of a star.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, who knows, right?
Could be anything. Or there might be cultural influences as to people seeing a light, heaven, light, that kind of thing.
I know a lot of neuroscientists like dig into this kind of theory on why they see the light, but at the end of the day, it's hard to know exactly why. So so
it's certainly a good question to ask other cultures. Hey, do you folks from Malaysia, do you see the light when you go to die, or when you folks,
to see if there are cultural differences. Exactly.
Yeah. So light pollution is a very particular subject, and not a lot of people necessarily talk about it or even know about it. So what is it that made you so interested in learning about it? We're curious to know.
Curious. Isn't that the name of this show?
Exactly.
It's amazing how you guys just like weave that together. It's seamless.
Of course.
This came about through an experience when I was performing. I used to be a comic juggler, and I was headlining clubs in LA and then playing in Vegas. And in between those two cities is the California desert. And the star viewing out there is fabulous. And in 1986, I know that's so last millennium, right? In 1986, Halley's Comet went by. So some friends of mine took me out into the desert. One of them was an amateur astronomer, had a telescope. And we had to drive like 3 hours to get away from Los Angeles's glare. And when I got out there, I looked up, I was just like, oh my God, this goes by unnoticed every night because people's lights are on. And LA and Las Vegas are two of the brightest places on the planet with this incredible darkness in between. So I started doing performance artwork in the dark, trying to capture that magic that I had when looking up at the stars. And that started me on a path that the eventuality was I quit civilization. In 87, I left my career in Vegas. I was at the top of my game, and I'm going, what am I doing here? This just doesn't seem right. So I moved to Hawaii, built a treehouse, and I lived in it for 5 years with no electricity. And then I became very, very conscious of the rhythm of light. Right? The sun, the moon, the stars, and the volcano down the road. And then one night I saw people just glazed looking at the lava flow. This is like they're 5 years now. And people were looking at it with that dumbstruck look, the dumbstruck look. And it reminded me of deer and the headlights. Deers freeze, or a moth going around a flame, or plants turning to face the sun. And I had this epiphany, hey, gee, all life is drawn to light. And then I thought that would make a great show. People all over the world would want to see a show like that about light. And then the next thought was, oh God, I'm going back into show business. And I did. And I created this human light show that toured for 20 years, done in the dark to raise awareness about the loss of our night sky due to light pollution. So I got involved with the light pollution and dark sky advocacy back in the 80s, when the idea was just so foreign. But now folks like you know what it is, right? And you see more and more articles about it in newspapers and magazines, documentaries, because within the last 10 to 15 years, the explosion of LED lights, specifically white ones, has really brought the attention to the topic, whereas before people were not necessarily cognizant of it.
I just want to go back a few minutes here. So you said you lived in a treehouse for 5 years. How did you manage that? Like what like is involved in that? It's like I never heard that before.
It's pretty off.
Well, I mean, you do come down out of the treehouse. You don't just simply stay up there,
Yeah, but like, what do you do for like, how do you pass the time, or what do you do for like food, or like what is involved in that?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is involved with that? Well, what I did to pass the time was I was breaking jungle. Spending most of your life, breaking jungle and cutting back the foliage so that there's airflow, fighting the mosquitoes, planting food-bearing trees, going to the beach. There was a beach nearby. The road at the time along the coast there was so bad. You could not ride a bicycle on it. It was so, and then eventually they paved it and it became a, just a really fabulous place to ride a bike.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, you get food, you go to town and you get food, and it's like someone living in a cabin, except it's up in a tree.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
You
interesting.
people in
I
Canada
never-
know about living in cabins.
Yeah.
More up north. Yeah.
Up north, yeah.
Yeah,
We're
true.
too much in the city for that.
We're a bit, yeah. We're in the light, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a lot, like, part of what we want to talk about is just like light pollution in general, right? So
Yeah.
Sure.
And as you mentioned, right, so Las Vegas being one of the, brightest places, in the States, there is one thing that they recently built. I don't know, I'm guessing you've heard about it, the Sphere.
Oh yeah.
Have you heard about that?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's fabulous. I mean, are you kidding? It's a fabulous piece of technology.
I mean, yeah, some might say, but I think a lot of people are saying that it's just this ridiculous, building with so many lights and just 24/7 lit up, and I don't know, yeah, what's your opinion on that, or what would you say? I guess that's not a good,
Oh,
not a
hey,
step
listen.
in the right
I'm
direction.
glad that it's in Las Vegas instead of someplace where it would really screw up a night sky.
Yeah.
like
I mean,
you're
it's
saying
just
like,
like, yeah. I mean, it's perfect for there. It's perfect. The Luxor, the pyramid. They used to, they still have this huge beam of light going up into the sky. I mean, it was a major light pollution, and everybody was all, in a kerfuffle when that came out. But this was even before people understood the impacts of light on the biosphere, migratory birds, the impact on night pollinators, marine life. And in 2016, the American Medical Association did a report on the guidance. They suggested that nothing be over 3,000 Kelvin because it had been associated with things like obesity, diabetes, melatonin suppression, depression, sleeplessness, and certain forms of cancer. And then the French did a 400-page report on phototoxicity. Now, there's a new word, phototoxic. And I'm sure you're familiar with the new headlights that are on automobiles that are white, right?
yeah.
Oh yeah, I
I
hate
have
Yeah,
it on
right.
mine.
And you're nodding and going, oh my God, the glare of those things. Those are burning at 6,000 Kelvin, twice what the
bad.
AMA recommended. And the reason they're blinding is because your eye is trying to stop the pupil down from here down to here to protect the retina, right? And this report from the French found that this kind of blue wavelength light kills retinal cells, which is the stepping stone to blindness. So there you have it.
Yeah.
So would you say just using computers then? So office workers who work in front of a computer all day, or
Yeah, that's I think because the computer is in an ambient light setting versus everything else off and just the screen may not be as detrimental. But I know that you can get blue screens that you can put on your computer to trap all that stuff for sure.
yeah,
I think there are also glasses that exist for that too, to like block out the certain blue
yeah, I've heard about
radiation
those.
light, yeah.
I know there's some debate on those blue light filter glasses, but especially at night, yeah, it's best to.
I wear
Yeah, go
them.
ahead.
The
you do
yellow
them?
glasses for driving makes a huge difference. A huge difference because it blocks out those blue wavelengths. And those white glaring headlights don't hurt anymore when you're wearing a pair of night driving glasses.
Oh, okay.
And
I
how-
think I
what-
should.
I
do that.
can't
Yeah.
I can't suggest them more highly.
What do you think has improved in your life as you started wearing those?
What's improved in my life? Oh, I get more girls now. My hair is more naturally curly. I'm able to do more push-ups. I mean, I'm not exactly sure.
But I guess it must have maybe improved your sleep quality. Do you think it did that at least?
All I can tell you is that it makes driving more comfortable at night. My eyes
yeah.
aren't having to adjust and readjust
To
every
strain
time
as
one of those
much.
cars
Okay.
goes by. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I sometimes just naturally put on sunglasses even while driving at night, just because the glare of those lights are so
Exactly.
bright.
Exactly. But the sunglasses darken the road a lot
Darken,
more.
yeah.
Whereas the yellow
Okay.
ones, and they're super cheap. They're not expensive. They're like 10, 20 bucks at the most. And they do the same thing as the sunglasses without darkening the environment even further.
I think I might look into that.
Yeah, I might think about buying those. I never
night.
thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But back to the sphere topic. So not only does it affect like light pollution, also affects like just our environment in general. We were looking at like some of the numbers and how much energy it could generate just for houses. Like we made a rough calculation. It would be something like 13,000 houses per year. So just like the amount of energy that unit consumes is just like astronomical. So I don't know what you think about how we could also reduce like the energy from all these light emitting sources.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. In my TEDx talk, Embracing Darkness, I mentioned this. I mentioned that I toured Luma for 21 years to 5 continents to raise awareness about light pollution. But today, I'm trying to bring more awareness to how much pollution is created by light. And I ask the audience, are you willing to lift a finger as in turning off the switch for climate change? Are you ready to lift a finger for climate change? So leaving a light on with nobody using it is no different than leaving your oven on with no food in it. Well, people don't do that. They just don't. It's like you turn off the water when you leave the room. So why don't you turn off the light? And it's going to take 100 million small actions to really move the needle instead of waiting for some on high legislation to come down that shuts off all the lights. Now, in China, in Shanghai, they turn off all of the light displays and stuff on the buildings, I think at 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Everything goes dark. We should be doing the same thing. There's no reason to have a light on in an office building, but there's nobody in that room, in that office. I mean, what's the point? And so in the TEDx talk, I entreat Hollywood and the sports industry that the stars do a benefit for the stars, for the people. Because if you get celebrities talking about the stars and the dark, then a lot more people will act. If Taylor Swift said, okay, everybody, go through your house right now and turn off your lights that you're not using, people would respond. That's all it takes. It's low-hanging fruit. Light pollution is a very easy thing to fix compared to cleaning up a watershed.
Yeah. It's a very misunderstood issue, I think, and I think at least you're helping us shed a light on that.
No, we need to shed some darkness on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no pun intended.
Yeah.
No, the pun is always intended. Are you kidding? What's the
Yeah. Do you fear that one day, you might look into the sky and you just might not see the stars at all? Like, and why should people care about that? Like, why does that matter to us?
Well, right now I'm in Bangkok and I don't see the stars at all here.
Yeah, same. We live in
And why should it matter? Okay, so this is now you get into a philosophical question.
yeah.
We have been connected to the night sky for hundreds of thousands of lifetimes. And now in the course of one lifetime, we've lost that connection. So we are adrift. We are no longer a part of that because we can't see that. There's this cognitive dissonance. We know the stars are there, but we can't see the stars. And when you look at the stars, when you're in an area to be able to see a pristine night, and you're looking back into eternity, essentially, because the light that you're seeing started that trip 100, a million years ago, light years, whatever it is. It's an incalculable distance and an incalculable time. So when people were able to look up and see where they came from and where they'll go to, there's not a fear of death. And I think that's one of the reasons why Western cultures so fear death. It's because they're no longer having that connection of a sense of continuity, right? I'm part of all of that. And it's funny, I've heard people say, do you mind if I ramble on further?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So I've heard people say that this idea that, when you look at the stars, doesn't it make you feel insignificant and small, right? No, for me, it makes me feel infinitely bigger. And how I came to that realization, I was hiking the Mount Assiniboine Trail in Canada. And so for the first day, you're just in the forest hiking. And then you start your ascent. And when you get out of the trees and start to go up, and all of a sudden you see this huge valley and this massive rock face, across the valley. And all of a sudden my sense of self expanded into that space, right? It was no longer just confined by the trees, but it's like it opened up out into it. So I think that's another part of what is a healthy human being, is to be able to have their sense of self fill a space that they're in that is that extends their sense. It's like I recently did a podcast on pilgrimages, and I said, I've been to Notre Dame, I've been to the Vatican, and I've seen the Sistine Chapel, and I prefer a night sky to connect with the divine. Why? The higher ceiling.
Oh, yeah, I see. Okay, it's a good analogy.
True.
Yeah,
It's a good one.
yeah. Have you been to like one of those like observatories that you could like? I know there are a lot in like Hawaii. Have you been to those?
Okay, so yes, I was very fortunate to be able to get inside the Keck, only because the guy that I was with, his high school friend, was a technician working there. They're not open to the public. Yeah.
Oh, really?
But it was really cool because they had the whole thing like, the telescope was going this way and the building was going this way. And it felt like I was on a ride. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
I guess you can see very clearly into the night sky, even more, than the naked eye there. You can see a lot. That'll be pretty cool to experience one
for
day.
sure.
Yeah.
I wish I could see that, honestly. I mean,
We need to know someone who knows someone.
yeah. Marlon, maybe you could get us in there.
I don't think he works there anymore. So
just kidding around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you talk about like the stars and, the meaning it has like on us. I have like a country house, and sometimes I go up there in the summer, and just at night, like I guess since there's very little light pollution, right? You could just see like the stars and like how big they are, and it just kind of like you're just kind of like amazed by them, right? And like here in the city, we can't appreciate that at all, right? So I think I would miss seeing that. Really.
I think so too. Yeah, I mean, it's just the modern life right now, where everyone's just focused on themselves, everyone for themselves, and we don't look anymore. We don't observe life in general anymore. And also, what I think we see when we look into the night sky is looking into the past, right? Since how light travels, like the lights that we see sometimes that we think are stars that have already exploded and they're gone, but we're now just seeing the light coming in, and, which is crazy to think about, that you're looking into the past, literally.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
I think in my book, Astrotourism, Stargazers, Eclipse Chasers, and the Dark Sky Movement, I speak about virtual astrotourism, which is what a visit to the planetarium is. Right? And, something like 146 million tickets are sold every year to go see planetarium shows. So it's an enormous amount. And another form of virtual space travel are the movies. You watch a movie like Interstellar or whatever, and you're there. You're out there in the stars. So we all have a longing for that. And You're right about the pace of today's society. People have to just think of themselves just to be able to like stay on the tight wire that is holding down a job, car payments, mortgage payments, insurance payments, this, that. I mean, it's like, it's, Stone Age man had more free time than we do, right?
Yeah, to
Of course, then
ponder.
again, they didn't have TVs, lint traps, and social media. So who cares that they had more free time? They had nothing to do. They told story. They told stories about the stars. I mean,
Yeah.
those are the oldest stories on the planet.
Yeah, they drew pictures on the wall of what they saw. They had a lot of time to kill.
Well, sometimes nothing to do is good too, you know.
Yeah. I know during
Yes.
COVID, having that, that free time, almost like just that disconnect for the rest of society almost felt good in a way. Because we're always so like
Distracted, constantly
and always
distracted.
invested in other things. And, once in a while it was good to like look on oneself,
I'm sorry, I just got distracted. Pardon me. I'm just kidding.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah,
I'll give
no,
you
I
a
get
good
it.
example.
You have to understand someone in my demographic. I grew up in an analog world, right? And the difference between an analog world and a digital world is it's an abyss. I mean, it's they're so different, and yet at the same time, if it wasn't for the internet, I wouldn't have been able to write the book on astrotourism. There's no way I would have been able to find all that information in a library. So I'm gathering sources from all over the world, literally, to be able to write that book.
And now we live in a time that's even more wild in a way, because we have all these virtual realities and augmented realities or technologies that are coming out, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this new technology for VR. It's called the Apple Vision Pro.
Yes, I've not had them on, but yeah, you
Yeah,
can see
you've heard about it,
life
yeah.
through it while at this. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is your opinion on that? Like for example, if you put that on, there's like a setting to change like your your vision of the world. So you could change your reality basically. You could put you on the
virtual
moon.
reality, yeah.
Just like so. What is your thought on that? Like does that?
Oh,
Does
people
that-
have been wearing rose-colored glasses for years.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. It's yeah.
It's an escape. But it's strange how sometimes people would rather experience, like reality or like the stars or whatever through virtual reality instead of actually going out into the world and looking
Yeah,
at
well,
the
I mean,
sky.
look, whether you have a VR headset on or you have this on, it's the same thing. You're not participating in your immediate surrounding. You're participating with whatever's happening on the other end of this. So what I find curious is that we are a world of people walking around bowing, bowing to the phone. We're bowing to the phone. And if somebody, I hope someone's listening, if someone would put in a device, a mechanism, where to get online, you had to say something, an affirmation, like the world is becoming a better place for everybody and everything in it. And then you could get online because these things recognize our voices now, right? So if you have 1 billion people or more all saying the world is becoming a better place for everybody and everything in it, it changes global consciousness. All you need to do is have everybody thinking the same thought somewhat simultaneously. And because people are on these things all day, all of the time, that would be a great thing to build into the phone. That's just my opinion if I could change the world.
Yeah.
No, it's an interesting. That's an interesting way to go about it. I mean, I don't know how practical it would be, or if people would be against it, because people would resist that kind of thing. But I understand like your thought process there of how if many people at the same time kind of practice the same thoughts and behaviors, that's how we change the world. Is everyone on their selves individually thinking the right way and behaving the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the goal, right? And I think that's kind of the point of these kind of longer format conversations, is just to get, different ideas out there, and to have exactly what you just said be out in the air, and so that other people
Well, I
can hear
mean,
that.
you think about it, to turn this thing on, you've got to punch in your passcode, right? Whatever that is, so you're already having to do something to unlock the phone. So to unlock your access to the internet, and the Pope could make some benediction for Catholics, and the Dalai Lama could make something for the Buddhists. But the whole idea is that you say something positive. You say something that lifts up, because how else are you going to change the world unless people all start thinking more positive thoughts about the world? Because if all you're doing is focusing on what's wrong with the world, where's the time to focus on what's right with the world and making it a better place?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're
And I
right.
think that's the, overlying theme on the internet nowadays. A lot of people on videos, they comment just negative stuff in general. And you don't often see like positive comments about really anything.
Yeah. It's astonishing to see the vitriol and the meanness online, because people would never say these things to each other's faces. They just wouldn't. And this is honestly, I can say one of the things I really love about Southeast Asia is that the people here are remarkably kind and considerate, and they smile back at you. And I've lost my wallet a couple of times, and it always came back to me with all the money and credit cards in it.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, I've only been to a few countries where that's the case.
Yeah, we need more of that, right? Less of, just people thinking for themselves. We need others to think about others to,
That's
grow the good in the world.
yeah, I think that's what we're missing. People thinking about other people, not just about themselves, which is what the West, pushes. You, and that's it. Yeah, so we also, I mean, we did talk about some philosophical questions, but we did have some more specific,
Yeah. So
deeper questions there.
yeah. So why do you think, we keep relying on the use of lights in our cities and our neighborhoods? Is it in a way to like keep us safe? Like why are people so afraid, you think?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I address that. I'm often brought in as an expert witness to speak to county councils, elected officials, agencies, whatever, to talk about light pollution and the dynamics behind it. And the question about, excuse me, the question about darkness, does it create crime? There are no studies, none, that link darkness to crime, none. And the thing that I say that shuts this conversation down instantly is, if light prevented crime, there'd be no crime during the day, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, true.
So this fear of darkness is a superstition. Now, there was a time, if you left the light of the fire and went out into the darkness, something out there may eat you and you may not come back, right? The church also, the Western church, used this term darkness to create fear, that darkness was evil somehow, And it's interesting. The devil was the prince of darkness, where his name, Lucifer, literally means bringer of light.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I've heard of that. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that makes sense, right? So, but I just have a question regarding this. So, why do you so you don't think that most crimes happen at night, or like what is your take on that? Because from what I understand, yeah. So, from what I understand and from what I've seen, right? I mean, most crimes tend to happen like at night. So, you think that the darkness doesn't really have anything to do with that?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, you can see, how many videos can you see of people at gas stations, which are totally lit, right? Getting hijacked or whatever. Light does not stop crime, period. If anything, darkness helps keep it down, because it's harder for the criminal element to move around in darkness. You got to have light to see
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing, right? And if you're skulking around
Yeah.
with a flashlight, that makes you even more suspicious.
Okay. I guess certain crimes might happen more during at night because some people are, asleep and
You're saying certain crimes might
Yeah.
in the dark? Well, but again, there's no studies that have made this link. None, ever, any place.
Mm-hmm.
There are some studies that show that lighting actually can increase crime. They did one in Chicago, and they found that lighting certain alleyways actually made crime easier for the criminal element. You could see into somebody's car more easily to see if there was something there that you wanted to steal.
Interesting. I mean, I guess, yeah, it sort of makes sense. Like, if literally the city was in darkness and there was very little lights, then how would, like, the thieves and criminals do anything? Because it would be hard to see. So,
Yeah.
Exactly.
it would be,
Yeah.
so they should light the cities less then to make it more
Yeah.
safe in a way. It's,
But what about the fact that most people are asleep at night? Wouldn't that also kind of, help some criminals out?
I'm
If there's
sorry,
no,
repeat that
like-
one?
So let's say there's, a criminal that would want to perform a crime at night. Wouldn't he have an incentive to do so because a lot of people are sleeping at night? Would that help them?
like less activity.
Less
during
activity?
the day, during
I guess
the night.
I think that's an argument, but I don't know if like it's a causation for it, right?
You're asking me to enter the mind of the criminal element and determine why it is that they act the way that they do or when they decide to do it. And do it when people are asleep. Sure. Okay. But again, there's no link that darkness precipitates more crime.
Okay, I get it. So you think we should like just, have less lighting and that would improve the
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we should have
Interesting.
less
Okay.
lighting. Give people's eyes the opportunity to adjust to the night. And if you're going to use lighting, use intelligent lighting. It's easy enough to do. I mean, this is one of the things I speak about. It's just like, to be a plumber, you got to have a license. To be an electrician, you have to have a license, right? To put up a light, any bozo, any Nimrod can put up a light, doesn't matter. So intelligent lighting means using a lower Kelvin, which is a warmer light, like the one that you have there in the back behind you that looks like a warmer light because it's easier on the eyes. And my particular theory is that our optical nerve evolved over whatever the millions of years being exposed to firelight, sunlight, moonlight, and the occasional lightning flash. So yeah, that's why it's comfortable when we walk into the room and the lights are soft, or why candlelight is romantic. It feels good on our eyes and it makes us feel good. You want to make sure that the light that you're using is pointed at its target. This is one of the biggest problems of light pollution. People just turn on the light and it doesn't matter where it goes. It's not directed at the target. So now some countries are starting to enforce light trespass laws and seeing it as a statutory nuisance. Right? So I have a place, before I came to Southeast Asia, I've lived in Hawaii for many, many years on the Big Island, way, way out away from town. And I can see the Milky Way in all of its glory. Well, this house across the street gets bought by some guy from Houston who sticks in all of these white lights. He doesn't even live there. He doesn't give a care whatsoever about the quality of the night. His light shined into my window and into my bedroom. There's nothing I could do about it. Nothing. There was, called the police.
it's his
Sorry,
right.
nothing on the law. You can just do whatever you want. But some countries are becoming more hip to it and making light trespass illegal.
I think they should, honestly, because me personally, like with our house, like in the living room, the neighbor in front, they have like this floodlight that's always on their driveway, and it's like pointing
Yeah.
directly into our living room.
Exactly.
I hate it. And I can't do
yeah.
anything about it.
You have to talk
Yeah.
to your neighbor.
Oh, we don't like them.
Hopefully they see this podcast.
What do you want to do? Turn a light and shine it into their house?
I guess have a light war.
Yeah, but if you're gonna do that, make sure it's like
Star Wars.
Make sure it's a big honking disco light that's flashing, right?
Yeah, build a sphere in front of your house.
Yeah, there you go. Build a sphere in front of your house.
Sphere 2.0.
Yeah. So
the only way to fight light pollution is to make more light pollution.
No, you're right.
There's like So there's this thing called light trespassing. Okay, interesting. I had never heard that term. Interesting.
So here it is, Aiko. You've been experiencing light trespass and didn't have a name for it. Now that you have a name for it, it will be even more annoying.
You're gonna be thinking about the light trespassing all the time now.
I'm gonna call our city and say, put a law in place, light trespassing there.
The folks who are listening, dial in darksky.org, and that will connect you with Dark Sky International, which will in turn provide you a wealth of information on how to raise awareness in your community on light pollution and how to how to light the night right.
That's good. Yeah, good to know. Good resource, I guess, for sure. Mm-hmm. So, what aspect of the human spirit do you think we're losing now that we're becoming like more disconnected with the universe, and we're not able to see the cosmos as much? I know we kind of touched on that earlier, but I want to reemphasize.
Wow, that's a question to ponder, my friend. What aspect of ourselves are we losing by being disconnected from the rest of the universe? Continuity and connectivity. Yeah, that's what we're missing, is the sense of belonging. Yeah, we're losing our sense of belonging, and that is kind of endemic to the human species in the first world nations. The sense of I don't feel connected. I don't feel connected to others, and our sphere of connectivity becomes smaller and smaller and smaller, while at the same time, the illusion of greater connectivity through social media. Oh, look, I have, these friends. And I remember seeing a cartoon once, and it was at a funeral, and there was like 100 chairs in the room, and there was only 3 people there. And the person saying, it's a shame he had so many followers on Facebook.
Yeah, it's like, like you said, it's like the illusion that we're more connected, but we're even less connected, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Social media does not make you more connected. One of the things, and even before there was social media, this device changed so much. I remember when I was booking Luma, the light show that I toured, and you'd go to these booking conferences, and there'd be a showcase, and people would go into a theater, and they'd watch a number of different acts perform, and then you'd go out into the lobby area, and then you'd supposed to network. And before this, you could network, right? But once this came online, you came out into the lobby, and all the agents or the production managers or executive programming directors, they were all on their phone. So they weren't even interested in interfacing with the people there at the conference live, but needed to talk to somebody else elsewhere. Right? So that was for me, that started back in the 90s and early aughts.
So yeah, exactly. We're becoming less connected, and like you said, like the invention of the smartphone definitely had a big impact on the rest of the world, right? Like I can't remember a time where I feel like we're less connected, even though like on paper we should be more connected,
I think we're more connected to information, but not necessarily to each other personally. Now, I gotta say, the miracle of this, that I can pick this up and look and talk to my niece in Pittsburgh, Taylor, and see her face. And like, here we are, we're literally on the opposite sides of the planet, and we can see each other and talk to each other. That's a big miracle. In my book, I think that's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, no, it's almost
really
like
cool.
magic.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, but magic can turn into
Yeah. Yeah.
bad things when we abuse it. And but yeah, so with technology we become more disconnected because we're all stuck into our own little dead box, as someone I heard once call it. It's
Yeah.
just a dead box. And then because of just the emission of lights from all these devices and all the increasing LEDs, we become disconnected from the universe. So yeah, it's just a continuous disconnection, and we just
Yeah, and it's if I might tangent for a moment, it's one of the reasons why I created this course. I just spent the last 7 months creating an online course that teaches people how to use their imagination and creativity, because this is one of the things. This is a creativity killer, right? Because you're looking at other people's ideas, you're looking at other people's words. You're not figuring out what's going on in your own imagination and your own creativity. And one of the things I love, Einstein's expression, play is the highest form of research. So, the course takes people through all of these inspired play exercises so that they become more connected to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You're right, yeah. Interesting that you're doing a course on creativity and imagination, where we would think that, that would be something that people would innately have, but it's almost like they've lost that part of themselves just because, they're just so passively consuming content instead of disconnecting from that and actually looking inwards and,
Yeah.
So,
well, let me ask you something. When was the last time either one of you played?
Played. Good question.
Yeah.
I mean,
I guess it's individual to each, but for me, like playing and being creative, like for me, it's like I do like powerlifting. So for me, it's like I kind of express myself through that. That's like kind of like an art form for me. So that's like I also play music, so that's also another way of playing. Like noodling on the guitar or something.
Yes,
that's a good
playing on
a
your
good one for me.
guitar.
Yeah.
That is a form of play, and using that other part of your brain. Not sure about the powerlifting, to what degree that expands your creativity or imagination, but it certainly gets a lot of those wonderful endorphins and things rolling around in your body. And what about you, Aiko? When was the last time you played?
Listen, actually, because I'm into music and I used to produce, many years ago, and I kind of stopped and I kind of missed that. And actually, recently, I was actually producing like a new beat. Just all of a sudden, I just got inspired. I said, you know what, I'm just going to hit it, open my recording software, and I started playing on the piano. And it felt great. Just, without any goal or anything, just make something.
Without any goal. That's the key element of it. There is no end. There is no win. The play itself is the win. That is the end run.
Yeah.
You're right.
But also, I think even producing this podcast in a way is kind of like playing, right? Like we're just doing this because we love it, and we just want to have conversations with people like you. And there's the creativity aspect that comes in, like creating a thumbnail, creating like figuring out the outline for the discussion, and all these things. When they all come together, it's like it's satisfying in a way.
Mm-hmm. There's some work involved in this too. So
there's work involved in putting on a podcast. Don't kid yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I think these covered some questions there, some really deep philosophical questions. And now, as a closing question, I want to ask you, so as we know, light pollution is increasing every single year, and we continue to lose our dark skies. So do you think, pun intended, is there light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, and it's a train coming the other way.
Oh, okay.
Why so?
Because that's the light at the other, I think that there is a movement, a dark sky movement, which I speak at great length again in my book. For those who didn't hear it earlier, Astrotourism, Stargazers, Eclipse Chasers, and the Dark Sky Movement, that there are more and more places around the planet that are getting their dark sky certification. The economics show that these places that get these dark sky certifications, the volume of tourism goes way up because more and more people are seeking the last remaining dark skies to be able to see a pristine night. My whole philosophy is that as astrotourism, it was created by light pollution. Its greatest threat is light pollution, and it is also a way to address and pull back light pollution. All three things at once. How can that be? How can three things be the truth at the same time? Okay, so again, people leave the big cities because of light pollution to be able to go see a dark sky. So that's what drives astrotourism. The light from the cities is the other thing that can destroy and deplete that natural resource of darkness. Light pollution can be addressed when people are aware of what it is that they're missing. If they stay underneath that dome of light, they never know what they're not seeing. By going and having an astrotourism experience, by going out and seeing the night sky and going, oh my God, back to the earlier part of this conversation, this goes by unnoticed every night because our lights are on. So now when they go back to the city, they're going to see light in a different way. And they're going to start talking to their local officials and other people like, how can we do something to dial back the light pollution that's going on? So it's an educational process. It's a learning curve, you know? And, you know, you may not be seeing the curves moving at the speed of light, but they're there. The curve is there, and it is being addressed. And more lights are coming online all the time, and there's more and more awareness to how to address it.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's true. You know, it doesn't take much. So just, you know, going to an area where you could see the stars and just looking at the sky could be a really good way to like put you back into that perspective. So I like that advice.
Thank you. And for, again, folks, go look at my TEDx talk, Embracing Darkness. It's on YouTube, Michael Marlin. And yeah, thanks for having me on, man. This was great. You guys are curious.
Yeah, this was a great conversation. If you have any other places where people could reach you, you could go ahead and say that too, like social media and all that stuff.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, mine.of.marlin. I'm on LinkedIn, Michael F. Marlin. I have a YouTube channel, Michael Marlin, and a website, Mind of Marlin. Yeah, I'm out there. I'm trying to raise my social media profile.
Yeah.
And again,
like
you know,
all trying to do.
Right. And I'm trying to do it so I can get this message out there to more and more people, because I haven't really met anybody who, once they've been exposed to the concept and the idea, was resistant to it.
Yeah, because it just makes sense. It's like who we are, right? It's like, it's almost like understanding ourselves better. Like, why would you not want to learn more about that?
Because of what they might find out. It's why a lot of people avoid psychoanalysis. No, I don't want to go there. Please, just no, I don't want to go there. Right? Because that means they're having to go and look at their shadow.
Ah,
Yeah. A lot of people don't want to be like introspective, right? They just want to like be, oh, I'm here for whatever reason, and that's it, you know? And yeah, like you said, they might be afraid of what they might find too, which is, also
You
not a
know,
great thing.
it's that's the messy business about thinking, and why there's so many believers in the world versus thinkers. Because thinking is messy. It's hard. You've got to. It takes effort. Someone's not just simply going to give you the answer and going, here it is. It's like, oh, and it was here all along. It was here all along.
Yeah. Just have to look deep enough.
well, but I mean, if we can close it with one message, if you want to know the truth, just look up, you know?
Look up, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Well,
Anyways, yeah, it was it was great talking to you, Marlon. So
yeah, thanks for coming on.
thanks for
Appreciate
coming
it.
on. Yeah,
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
yeah, fantastic.
And I'll leave people with this one last thought. As children, we may have been afraid of the darkness, but when we grew up and became adults, we learned that some of the best times we would ever have in our lives were when the lights were out.
Well said. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Great. All right, great.